Forward translation. Bhukta, enjoyed. Bhoga, enjoyment. Parityakta, given up. Drista, discovered. Dosa, faultiness. Cha, and. Nityasa, always. Na, not. Ishvarasya, of the independent. Asubham, harm. Datte, she inflicts. Swe mahimni, in his own glory. Stitasya, situated. Cha, and. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. By discovering the faultiness of his desiring to lord it over material nature and therefore giving it up, the living entity becomes independent and stands in his own glory. Purport. Because the living entity is not actually the enjoyer of the material resources, his attempt to lord it over material nature is at the ultimate issue frustrated. As a result of frustration, he desires more power than the ordinary living entity, and thus wants to merge into the existence of the supreme enjoyer. In this way, he develops a plan for greater enjoyment. When one is actually situated in devotional service, that is his independent position. Less intelligent men cannot understand the position of the eternal servant of the Lord. Because the word servant is used, they become confused. They cannot understand that this servitude is not the servitude of the material world. To be the servant of the Lord is the greatest position. If one can understand this and can thus revive one's original nature of eternal servitorship of the Lord, one stands fully independent. A living entity's independence is lost by material contact. In the spiritual field, he has full independence, and therefore there is no question of becoming dependent upon the three modes of material nature. This position is attained by a devotee, and therefore he gives up the tendency for material enjoyment after seeing its faultiness. The difference between a devotee and an impersonalist is that an impersonalist tries to become one with the Lord so that he can enjoy without impediment, whereas a devotee gives up the entire mentality of enjoying and engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. That is his constitutional glorified position. At that time, he is Ishvara, fully independent. The real Ishvara or Ishvara Parama is the supreme Ishvara or the supreme independent Krishna. The living entity is Ishvara only when engaged in the service of the Lord. In other words, transcendental pleasure derived from loving service to the Lord is actual independence. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksulmetam Yena Tasmei Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class today. So we're reading from the third canto, chapter 27, title Understanding Material Nature. Text number 27. I'll read the translation again. By discovering the faultiness, text number 24. By discovering the faultiness of his desiring to lord it over material nature, and by therefore giving it up, the living entity becomes independent and stands in his own glory. So this is Lord Kapiladev, one of the incarnations of Krishna, speaking to his mother, Devahuti. So a couple of verses before, we saw Mother Devahuti. She had asked a question to Lord Kapiladev. So Mother Devahuti, although she is the mother and Lord Kapiladev is the son, she has accepted Lord Kapiladev as her spiritual master. And she is putting forward questions at the lotus feet of his guru, or of her guru. So one of the questions Mother Devahuti asked is that, you've been talking about material nature, the illusory energy. But how can we get out of this illusory energy? Because we see in this material world that the jiva is naturally attracted towards maya or matter. And we also see that matter is also imposing itself upon the jiva. So from both ways there is attraction. The conditioned soul is always going towards matter, and matter is also imposing itself upon the spirit soul or the jiva. So there's like a tight bond between the jiva and the illusory energy. So how is liberation possible? Is it even possible to get liberated? Is it even possible to get free from the tight bondage of Durga Devi or Maya? So that was the question put forward by Mother Devahuti and Lord Kapila Dev in the last couple of verses. He answers by explaining that yes, it is possible to get liberation. Yes, it is possible to get free from the grips of Durga Devi or Maya or the illusory energy of Lord. How? Lord Kapila Dev explains, if we engage in Tivra Bhakti or intense devotional service at the lotus feet or Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, then by the practice of that intense bhakti or devotional service, we can free ourselves from the bondage of Maya, free ourselves from the bondage of the illusory energy of Lord. And in today's verse, Lord Kapila Dev is explaining how we can overcome this anartha of trying to be the Lord or trying to be the enjoyer of this material world. So as we've discussed many times, the acharyas, the shastras explained that originally we were all there in the spiritual world, enjoying with Krishna. And once upon a time, one time, just this thought comes into our mind that what would it be like if I was like Krishna? What would it be like if I was God? What would it be like if I was the supreme enjoyer or the controller? So just 1 second, that thought comes. And immediately when that thought comes, Krishna, to fulfill that desire of the jiva, Krishna, he sends that particular jiva to the material world where he can fulfill that desire. So it's not that we weren't happy or satisfied with Krishna in the spiritual world. It's just one day that thought just comes into our mind. In Paris, one time, Prabhupada was explaining this point. Prabhupada is saying, every day, let's say, for example, for lunch, we have rice, dal, sabji, and chapatis. Okay, so that's our standard lunch. Every day we have. And we enjoy taking rice, we enjoy taking dal, we enjoy taking sabji. And, there's nothing wrong with it. We're happy and fully satisfied eating rice, dal, sabji every day along with chapatis. But Prabhupada says, you're happy and satisfied eating rice, dal, sabji, chapatis. But one day just this thought comes into your mind. What would it be like if I took pizza, today instead of rice, dal, sabji, chapati? Just this thought just comes into your mind. It's not that you don't like rice, dal, sabji. Just randomly a thought just comes. What if I had something else? So Prabhupada says, in the same way, when we're there in the spiritual world, we are fully happy and satisfied, serving Krishna, playing with Krishna, dancing with Krishna, eating with Krishna. But just one day, just this thought comes into our mind. What would it be like if I was the center? What would it be like if I was God? What would it be like if I was the enjoyer? What would it be like if I was like Krishna? So immediately at that very moment when that thought comes, Krishna, to fulfill that desire of the jiva, he sends him to the material world where he can fulfill that desire. Because in the spiritual world, Krishna is the center. So the jiva, he can't satisfy that particular desire in the spiritual world. So Krishna, he has to create another dimension, another world where all these souls can try to imitate Krishna as the enjoyer or try to imitate Krishna as the controller. And because of that desire, that is the root cause of all of us being stuck here in this material world. So if we want to get out of this material world and go back home, back to Krishna, then we have to free our hearts from this anartha, or from this disease of wanting to be the supreme controller, from this disease of wanting to be the supreme enjoyer like Krishna. How to overcome this? Lord Kapila Dev is explaining today. By discovering the faultiness of his desiring to lord it over material nature, and therefore giving it up, the living entity becomes independent and stands in his own glory. So Lord Kapila Dev is explaining that we should, through analysis, through hearing from Shastra, we should try and understand or cultivate knowledge of how we're not the supreme enjoyer, how we're not the supreme controller. And like Kapila is saying, we should understand the faultiness. What's wrong in trying to be the enjoyer? What's wrong in trying to be the controller? Why we shouldn't go that path. In the purport, Prabhupada explains that by constitution, we're all servants of Krishna. So only when we act according to that consciousness will we be happy. Because by very nature, that's our constitutional position. Just like a monkey's constitutional position is to jump around in trees, eat fruits and berries. So as long as the monkey is acting like a monkey, climbing from tree to tree, eating fruits and berries, the monkey will be happy and satisfied. But if you take the monkey out from his natural habitat and you make him, eat worms in the ground, like birds, the monkey won't be satisfied because that's not his constitutional position. Same way Prabhupada gives the example of a fish. The fish's constitutional position is to swim in water, right? To be in the ocean or in the river. But if you take the fish out of water, put it on the land, will the fish be happy? No, it will always be miserable. And it will be suffering on land because that's not the fish's constitutional position. Same way Prabhupada explains, our constitutional position is Jivara Sarpahai Krishnayar Nichandas. Our constitutional position is to be rendering service onto Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. So as long as we're engaged in some sort of service to Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, we'll always be happy, we'll always be satisfied. The moment we come out and try to be the boss, try to be the enjoyer controller, at that moment, Prabhupada explains, frustration will come, disappointment will come, sadness will come, depression will come, everything, all negative feelings and emotions will start coming. So Prabhupada explains that we need to start training and practicing to always think of Krishna, to always think of how to serve Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. So coming back to this point of understanding the faultiness of sense gratification, of enjoyment. 1 or 2 weeks ago when my Guru Maharaj was here in Sydney, I was having a personal darshan with him and I was asking a few questions. One of the questions I was asking him was that how to cultivate compassion, that we're going out to preach, distribute books. How can we develop general compassion, empathy for the people out there, who we're distributing books to, who we're preaching or trying to bring into Krishna consciousness. And my Guru Maharaj was explaining that we should train ourselves to see through the eyes of the Shastra. Instead of just seeing externally through our vision, we should see through the books that the Acharyas, that Srila Vedavyas has given us. So it's called Shastra Chakshus. One should see through the eyes of the Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita. And my Guru Maharaj is explaining, when we go out on the streets, we see everyone happy, we see everyone having a good time, everyone laughing, giggling, hand in hand, hand over shoulder. And externally it seems that everyone's having a good time, in Maya. Everyone's having a good time, not serving Krishna. And when we see that, our mind cheats us. And we start thinking, they already look happy, they already look very peaceful. What need is there for me to go out to them and give them a book? What need is there for us to go and, preach to them about Krishna consciousness or bhakti? They're already happy and satisfied. So what am I doing out here, trying to distribute books? So if we just see externally through our mundane eyes or through our mundane vision, it will look like that. But my Guru Maharaj says we should instead train ourselves to see through the eyes of Srimad Bhagavatam. And according to Shastra, my Guru Maharaj is explaining that the Shastras explain that vision of people enjoying on the streets out there in the CBD or in Sydney, it's actually an illusion created by Maya. How so? My Guru Maharaj explains, quoting the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj, that when we go out there on the streets, we see, two guys or guy and girl, or girl and girl, they're happy or having a good time. My Guru Maharaj said you shouldn't just see that particular moment of them having a good time, but rather you should see the whole picture. What's the whole picture? Prahlad Maharaj explains that just to come to that particular point of happiness, these persons, these karmis, they have to work so hard. For many, many weeks, for many, many months, they have to save up so much money, they have to work, so hard, just like animals, just like a slave. and so much hard work and effort comes, and then finally, after a lot and a lot of hard work, finally they get a small moment of happiness. And when that more happiness comes, it just goes just like that. So Prahlad Maharaj explains, if you look at the whole picture, there's a lot of hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work. Then you get a little bit of happiness, then again hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work. Then again a little bit of happiness. So because the happiness is only there just for a small fraction of time, and because the majority of the time you're just working hard, Prahlad Maharaj considers the whole package as unhappiness. So my Guru Maharaj says, when we go out there and we see people happy, or externally it seems like they're happy, that happiness is just for a short period of time. And for these people to get to that point of happiness, they have to work so hard. They have to undergo so much anxiety. They have to undergo so much stress. But that Maya won't let us see. Maya will just let us see that moment of happiness they're experiencing. So my Guru Maharaj explains we should train our eyes to see through Shastra, train our eyes to see through what Prahlad Maharaj is explaining. What these great devotees, Vaishnavas, or Krishna himself is explaining in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this way, this is one way we can see the faultiness of sense gratification, or the faultiness of material enjoyment. If we want to materially enjoy something, if we want to engage in sense gratification, to come to that point of sense gratification, we have to work very hard. So many nights, so many days, we have to take anxiety, physical stress, mental anxiety, and then after working so hard, we'll get a little bit of pleasure, sense gratification. And just when we're enjoying that sense of, that material enjoyment, that material pleasure, it will just go like that. We'll be enjoying it, and just like that it will go. Then again, we have to work hard. Then again, we'll go a little bit, then again, we'll just go.
So that's one way Shastra explains the faultiness of material enjoyment. Another angle Prabhupada gives the example of sweet rice. So everyone knows what sweet rice or kheer, right? Kheer is famous all around the world. Sweet rice. So let's say, today is Sunday, so you come for the Sunday feast, and the sweet for today's Sunday feast is kheer. And everyone's waiting to get a plate of nice prasad, and then after they finish the rice, dal, sabji, the pakora, it's time for the best part of the meal, the sweet or the dessert. And you start eating the sweet rice. And you put it in your mouth, and you can taste the sugar, of the sweet rice, you can taste the milk, you can taste the soft rice which has been cooked in the milk, for more than an hour. And it's tasting so nice, in your tongue. But as you start chewing on the sweet rice, and you start swallowing, you notice there's something wrong with the sweet rice. Some weird thing is in the sweet rice. There's like some sand or dirt in the sweet rice. And at that moment, you're like in disbelief. You're like, it's sweet rice, it tastes good, but at the same time, there's something wrong with the sweet rice. There's like some sand or dirt, and you don't know what to do. So Prabhupada gives the example of sweet rice mixed with sand. You want to enjoy the sweet rice, you think, okay, this is my enjoyment. You're enjoying, but at the same time, the sand is there in the sweet rice. So you're enjoying, but at the same time, you're not enjoying. Or the illusion of enjoyment is there, but the main thing is you're suffering. You're eating sand and dirt. So Prabhupada uses this to explain that there's no such thing as pure material happiness. Wherever there is material happiness, there will always be material distress alongside with it. Just like iPhone, right? Everyone is dreaming, okay, I'll get the latest iPhone, then I will enjoy very nicely. But is iPhone full enjoyment? No. Shastra explains, there's no such thing as pure material enjoyment. Where there is material happiness, material distress will come side by side. Just like a coin, right? You have the heads and the tails. There will always be two sides of the coin. Same way with iPhone. We think iPhone will be full happiness. But is it full happiness? No. You get the iPhone, then you have to download so many different softwares. You have to download this app, that app, and this hardware, then something else will go wrong with it. And then you might accidentally drop it, then it will crack. Then you have to go and find some store. And then you have to do research which store will fix my phone for the least amount of money. Then another day you'll drop it in water, then there'll be water leakage into the iPhone. This way so many different distresses are also coming with the same iPhone. So the same iPhone which is giving us enjoyment, that same iPhone will also give us a lot of distress, a lot of anxiety. So this Prabhupada explains with the sweet rice example. Sweet rice or kheer mixed with sand. Yes, the taste of the sweet rice is there, but along with the taste of the sweet rice, the distress, the disgusting sand or dirt is mixed in there with the sweet rice. But Prabhupada says on the other side, we come to spiritual enjoyment. The enjoyment we get in serving Krishna is complete opposite. The nature of Maya is that she will always overpromise and underdeliver. One example, Karan Maharaj, he was giving. He was saying once in one particular temple they were celebrating Nishima Chaturdasi. We celebrated a couple of weeks ago. They had a very beautiful, huge picture of Lord Nrsimhadev in a beautiful altar created for him. So Karan Maharaj, he was explaining, once in one temple they were celebrating Nrsimha Chaturdasi. And devotees came to take darshan in the morning. And in the morning, as we also see in our temple, that during big festivals, we'll have some cakes lined up in front of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, Jagannath Baladev, Subhadramani and Gaur for their enjoyment, for their pleasure. On this particular day, devotees in the morning, they come for darshan on Nrsimha Chaturdasi, and there's a nice, big, huge, beautiful cake in front of the deities in the altar. And one of the devotees, taking darshan, he looks at the cake and then he starts contemplating in his mind, wow, that cake looks very nice. In the evening, when the feast is served, they will serve this cake, I will very nicely enjoy this Maha cake of Lord Nrsimhadev. So whole day, during the day, he's just meditating on this cake. In the evening when the feast will serve, I will get a nice big slice. I'll get 2 slices of this cake, I'll get double, and I'll nicely enjoy the cake. So whole day is meditating. And then finally evening time comes, I think Nrsimhacharya is supposed to fast the whole day. So he's fasting, then finally it's time to break the fast in the evening. He's eagerly waiting in the line, he gets his plate of prasad, he gets the cake. Then he finally sits down, and now is the time for enjoyment, Whole day he's been meditating on the cake. So he has his plate there, he has the rice, the dal, the sabji, pakoras, all the savories. And then he has the sweet, the Maha cake, which he's been seeing in the altar, which he's been meditating on the whole day. And he was, pumping himself, before you get into something nice, you always, pump yourself, okay, yes, now I'm going to do it, now is the time, let's do it. So before he touches anything else, he just dives straight into the cake. And immediately he starts eating the cake. And he puts it in his mouth, and he's eating, and then he just freezes. He's eating, chewing, and then he just suddenly freezes. And everyone devotees are looking like, what happened? And he's just in complete shock and disbelief. And everyone's wondering, what's happening? And there's just complete silence. And what had happened is the devotees who made the cake, instead of putting sugar in the cake, they put salt. So in his mind, whole day he was meditating, yes, I will take this beautiful cake of Lord Nrsimhadev, it's going to be so good, there's so much cream, there'll be nice sugar, it'll be very nice and soft. And then finally the time comes, he puts in his mouth, and he's expecting, it'll be so nice, so tasty, so sweet, but what comes? There's salt in the cake. It's completely the opposite of what he expects. So he's just in complete disbelief. He doesn't know how to react, what to do. So this, Karan Maharaj explains, is how Maya, or Durga Devi, or how the illusory energy tricks us. She'll always overpromise and underdeliver. She'll always preach to us in our minds that yes, you do this material enjoyment, you will enjoy it this way. You do this, you will enjoy it that way. You do this, you will enjoy it that way. But when we actually do it, do we actually enjoy it? No. It's the complete opposite reaction we get. We get distressed, we get frustrated. It's always less than what we expect. Just like you remember this cake example. Whole day he was thinking, yes, the cake is going to be nice, it's going to be so tasty, it's going to be so good. After a whole day of fasting, I'm going to enjoy it. But complete opposite thing comes. So that same way Maya will trick us. Not just once, twice, every day she tricks us like this. So that is another way you can see the faultiness of trying to enjoy our senses. The faultiness of trying to lord it over the material world. Faultiness of engaging in sense gratification. What Maya promises will always be a false promise. She will always underdeliver. But on the other side, with Krishna, it's the opposite. Krishna will always give us more than what we expect. Krishna will always bless us with more blessings, with more mercy, more enjoyment than what we deserve, than what we expect. There's one nice verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ishvara Swabhava na dekhaye dosa alpa seva bahumanye atma paryanta prasada. This verse explains the nature or the personality of Krishna or of our Gopinath or of our Lord Jagannath. So Krishna, just like us, he is a person and he has his own personality. Just like all of us, we have our own individual, unique personalities. Some of us are a bit shy, some of us are a bit talkative, some of us are more serious, some of us are more studious, some of us are more loud-spoken. Like this, each and every one of us, we have our own very unique personality. And someone asks, please describe this devotee. They'll say, this devotee is like this, like that, like that. Someone asks, please describe this devotee. They'll say, this devotee is like this, like this, like this. So in the same way, Krishna is also a person. So what is Krishna's personality? If someone asks someone, how would you describe Krishna? So Krishna Kaviraj Goswami, or in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's one beautiful verse, which I just quoted now, which very nicely, in just one sentence or two sentences, summarizes the whole personality of our Krishna, or of Shri Radha Gopinath, or of the Lord Jagannath. So what is Krishna's personality? Ishvara Swabhava. Swabhava means personality or nature. What is the nature or the personality of Krishna? Ishvara Swabhava na dekhaye dosa. Dekha means to see. Na dekhaye dosa means fault or mistake. Na dekhaye dosa means Krishna, his personality is such, he never sees faults in his devotees. He always overlooks the faults and the mistakes of his devotees. So that's point number one. Point number two, what is Krishna's personality? Ishvara Swabhava na dekhaye dosa, alpa seva bahumanye. Alpa means very little. Just like when there's feast time, and devotees are going around serving prasad, if you already had too much, then you say alpa, just little bit of prasad, not too much. So alpa seva. Seva means service or devotional service. Alpa seva bahu manye. Bahu means many, or great. Alpa seva bahu manye. So second point is that Krishna's personality is such that you just do a little bit of service, Krishna will magnify that service, expand that service, and consider it as if you did something very, very great for him. Just like there's one pastime of Lord Jagannath, that once there was two drunkards, and being intoxicated, they were, shouting at each other, joking, dancing, and just swaying here and there in intoxication. And while they were swaying here and there in intoxication, they come in front of Lord Jagannath. They were both intoxicated, they're drunk, and they had like some kind of flag or a piece of cloth. And as they're intoxicated and swaying this way and that way, they're waving this flag or this piece of cloth, in front of Lord Jagannath. And Lord Jagannath, what does he see? He starts, speaking to Baladev, Subhadramani, just see what great service they're doing. They're coming in front of us and dancing, they're coming in front of us and waving the flag. Such nice service they're doing for us. And Lord Jagannath, he liberates those two drunkards. So like that, there's one example given in Shastra. So this is the mood of Krishna. This is the nature or the personality of our Lord Jagannath, of our Shri Radha Gopinath. So they don't see the faults, they overlook all the faults. Instead, they're just looking for an opportunity to give us blessings. They're just looking for an opportunity to give us mercy. So in this case, point number two is that you just do a little bit of service. Krishna or Lord Jagannath, Gopinath, they will expand that service and think that actually it's not just a little service, it's actually a very great thing, and they will give us so much blessings. So Ishvara Swabhava na dekhaye dosa alpa seva bahu manye Atma Paryanta Prasada. So point number 3 is Krishna. Firstly, he will see us doing a little service. He will think that little service is something very, very big and something very, very great. And feeling so obliged, genuinely feeling so grateful and obliged by that little service we're doing for him, Krishna in reciprocation, he will give his very soul to his devotees. And that's what Atma Paryanta Prasada means. Alpa Seva Bahu Manye Atma Paryanta Prasada. We do little bit service, Krishna thinks, oh, this is very, very great seva he has done for me. And Krishna feeling so happy and joyful, feeling so grateful and indebted to his devotees. Krishna in reciprocation, Atma means one's own self. Atma Paryanta Prasada. He gives his own self as prasad, as his blessings. So this is the nature of our Shri Shri Radha Gopal. This is the nature of our Lord Jagannath, of our Shri Shri Gaura. This is what's explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is the complete opposite of Durga Devi, of Maya. Maya, as we were discussing, she will always overpromise and underdeliver. Just like the example of the cake we were explaining. Maya will always preach to us in our ears that you do this, you do that, you'll enjoy like this, you enjoy like that. But when we actually do it, the result is completely opposite. It's always disappointment. It's always not what we expected. It always lets us down. But Krishna is complete opposite. He'll always give us more than what we deserve. He'll always give us more blessings than what we expect or what we think we will get or what we think we deserve. So that's why the Shastra explains we should stop trying to gratify our senses, stop trying to be the enjoyer, the controller, and just simply come and render humble service at the lotus feet of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. And Prabhupada in the purport, he is explaining that in this material world, when someone hears the word servant, it has a very negative connotation to it. Like when we hear the word servant or slave, we think, that we're going to get exploited. There's a master and he will just, exploit us, take a lot of service from us, and the master will be enjoying, and we will just be like a servant, like a slave, and we'll just be working hard for nothing, and there will be no enjoyment for us. So generally, when we hear the word servant, we think like that. But Prabhupada says, this is not the case when we become servants of Krishna or Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. Krishna is the most merciful master, and Prabhupada explains, according to Shastra, in spiritual life, in material life, the master enjoys more than the servant. In material life, the master always exploits the servant, and the servant always gets very little enjoyment, and the master will always be enjoying more. But Prabhupada says in spiritual life, it's the opposite. In spiritual life, Krishna is the master, we are the servants. We'll be serving Krishna. Krishna will no doubt be getting enjoyment from our devotional service. But according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, the servant or the devotees who are serving Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, they also enjoy. How much so? Do they enjoy a little bit less than Krishna? Equal to Krishna? No, Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that the devotees as servants of Krishna, they don't enjoy a little bit less than Krishna, or they don't enjoy the same amount of happiness as Krishna. Instead, they enjoy even more than Krishna himself. So just like in Bhagavad Gita, it's given, right, 15th chapter, that this material world is just simply a reflection of the spiritual world. So when something gets reflected, everything becomes upside down. So just like in this material world, the master, he'll always be enjoying more than the servant. So in the spiritual world, when you take the reflection, it will become the opposite. In the spiritual world, the servant always enjoys more than the master. So when we do service, Chaitanya Charitamrita explains, when we do service unto Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, they no doubt experience great bliss and pleasure, taking our loving service, taking our bhakti. But the happiness we feel within our hearts, the happiness Krishna's devotees feel within their hearts, according to CC, is even greater than the happiness that Krishna himself experiences. Not just a little bit greater, or 2 times greater, 3 times greater, 4 times greater, but according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, pure devotees of Krishna, like the gopis, the pleasure they get while they serve Krishna is given, it's millions of times more than the pleasure that Krishna he himself is experiencing. So that is the potency, that is the power of the service rendered by a pure devotee of Krishna. The happiness, bliss, enjoyment that Krishna's pure devotees like the gopis experience is said to be millions of times greater than the happiness Krishna himself experiences. Therefore Krishna, he comes as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Krishna is known as the supreme enjoyer, so if he has to, be true to his name, then he has to come as his own devotee to experience that bliss that a devotee is feeling. So that is the one thing that bewilders Krishna. How is it that my devotee is enjoying not just twice, 3 times, 4 times, but millions of times more than me? I am the supreme enjoyer, they're rendering service unto me, but the bliss they're feeling while they're engaging in my service is millions of times more than the bliss I myself are experiencing. I also want to experience that bliss of seva. I also want to experience that bliss of rendering service unto myself. So therefore Krishna, he comes as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of his topmost devotee, Srimati Radharani. So he can also experience that topmost bliss. So in the mature world, the master is the topmost, he enjoys more, but in the spiritual is the opposite. Those devotees who render pure devotional service, they're the ones who are enjoying the topmost bliss. They're the ones enjoying the topmost pleasure. So in this way, Prabhupada clarifies this point in the purport, that we shouldn't think that, okay, we should become servant of Krishna. That doesn't mean that, we negate ourselves. But actually, by becoming servants of Krishna, we will experience the topmost bliss. We will experience the topmost happiness. And then Prabhupada is explaining the difference between a devotee and an impersonalist. So Prabhupada explains, first there's the karmis, and they try to enjoy sense gratification. After some time they get frustrated and they realize that actually there's no happiness in just trying to enjoy the senses, and then they give up. Then they go to next level. What is the next level? They think, okay, if I can't gratify my senses, by engaging in sense gratification, what I'll do, I'll merge. I'll become Krishna. I'll merge into Krishna's body or Krishna's effulgence. I will become Krishna. Then I will enjoy it that way. So that same root desire, Prabhupada explained, the same root desire being to enjoy is still there, but one tries to fulfill it in a different way. He tries method number 1, he himself going and engaging with the senses, gets frustrated, then he thinks, okay, I can't enjoy it that way. I will become Krishna, I will become God. I will merge into Krishna, I will become Krishna. That way I will enjoy. And Prabhupada says, even in that way, he fails, and then he realizes that the only way he can be fully satisfied and be pleased is by being a servant of Krishna. And Prabhupada in the purport is also talking about engaging the senses. So Prabhupada is saying servant means one who is always engaging all of his senses, all of the instruments, everything that he has in his capacity to render service for Krishna. But unfortunately our present situation is that all of our senses are going towards sense gratification. I like one example Prahlad Maharaj he gives in 7th canto. He explains that our position as such is like, Prahlad Maharaj says that imagine there's one guy or one man, and this man has 5 different wives or many wives. And each wife is pulling him in a different direction. One wife is saying, hey, come shopping with me today. Let's go to Chatswood, Westfield. Let's go shopping. I need to buy this, I need to buy that. Another wife is saying, no, let's go to Flemington markets. We need to buy groceries. Another wife is saying, no, let's go see the Harbour Bridge. Another wife is saying, no, let's go to, today is my son's birthday. We have to go to school. We have to go there for this birthday party. Like this. Prahlad Maharaj, he gives this example, 7th canto. And then imagine there's one man and he has many wives, and each wife is pulling in different directions. Come here, come there, do this for me, do that for me. What will be the position of that man? He will just be always bewildered, just frustrated, always in anxiety, super stressed out. Each wife will pull him in different directions. So Prahlad Maharaj says, this is our position in this mature world. Each one of our senses will pull us in different directions. Our eyes will say, hey, go there, look at that nice thing. Our nose will pull us in a different direction, let's go there, smell that. Our tongue will pull us in another direction, let's go eat that, eat this. So in this way, Prahlad Maharaj explains, just like a man with many wives is pulled in different directions. Our position is such that our five senses, our mind, is always pulling us in this direction, that direction, that direction. That's why we're always stressed out, that's why we're never happy and peaceful. So Prabhupada explains, instead of being a slave of our senses, we should become a master of our senses. Instead of being Godas, or a slave of our senses, we should become Goswamis. To become a Goswami doesn't mean that, you become a Babaji or wear saffron. No, Prabhupada says Goswami is simply one who is the master. Swami means master, Go means senses. So Goswami is one who is the master of all of his senses. And Prabhupada says this is one of the aims, of our Krishna conscious movement. We want to make everyone a master of their senses. And only when we master our senses, only then can we become truly happy. And that's the meaning of how a devotee is independent. So in the purport and translation explained, I'll read the translation here. By discovering the faultiness of his design to mold it over mature nature, and therefore giving it up, the living entity becomes independent and stands in his own glory. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that only a devotee of the Lord is independent. Everyone else are servants, everyone else are slaves. Slaves of who? Slaves of their senses. Slaves of lust, slaves of greed, slaves of anger, pride, false ego, so on and so forth. But Prabhupada says, a devotee of the Lord, he is fully independent. He is not a slave of his eyes, he is not a slave of his tongue, he is not a slave of lust, he is not a slave of false ego, pride. So in that way, a devotee is independent. He can serve Krishna in whichever way he likes. He is fully detached. Narayana Parasave Nakutastan Vidyati Swarga Pavarga Narakesu Apitulyata Darshana. So devotee is so independent, he doesn't mind where he is. Wherever he goes, he can peacefully render devotional service. He doesn't mind whether he's in Swarga or Naraka. Either in heaven or hell, he'll happily engage in Krishna service. In this place, that situation, doesn't matter. He's fully detached. Why? Because he's not a slave of his mind, he's not a slave of his senses. And his whole focus is just simply how to serve Krishna. My Guru Maharaj, one class, he explains how we can judge whether we're making spiritual advancement or not, or whether we are spiritually healthy. Just like for our body, we go for a health checkup, to a doctor, once a year, and they do different tests to check how our body is, physically. So in the same way, there's a spiritual health checkup that we should be doing now and then. So what is the spiritual health checkup? The Guru Maharaj says we should contemplate and analyze and think, what is it our tongue is vibrating? And what sound vibration is going into our ears? We should do this analysis every now and then to check how we're going in our spiritual life. So we should do a tongue analysis and we should do a ear analysis. And we should analyze, contemplate and think, what is my tongue vibrating the whole day? Am I talking about Krishna? Am I talking about things in relation to Krishna? Am I speaking sweetly with other devotees, with other living entities? Or is harsh things coming out of my mouth? Or is prajalpa coming out of my mouth? In this way we should contemplate, what sound vibration am I vibrating with my tongue? So that is analysis number one. We should do the tongue analysis. Second analysis we should do is ear analysis. What sound vibrations am I putting in through my ears? Am I simply hearing gossip and prajalpa from others? Am I simply hearing mundane news from others? Or am I, throughout the whole day, taking positive spiritual sound vibrations from my ears? This way one can do, tongue analysis, ear analysis, and other analysis, for the other senses or for the mind also. This way we can analyze how we are all engaging our senses in the service of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. So Srila Prabhupada, as our Acharya, he was most expert at this, or most expert at engaging all of his senses in Krishna service. So he was the true Goswami. Just like I was just reading a few things. There's one nice website online created by one of Prabhupada's disciples, his Siddhanta Prabhu. It's called shilaprabhupadlila.org. And on that they put a lot of nice little snippets of Prabhupada Lila from different books written by Prabhupada disciples. So a few pastimes reading. One, I was reading of Prabhupada getting a massage just before going to sleep. So when does Prabhupada goes to sleep? According to this particular answer, I think it's given by either Satsuru Maharaj or Sutakrit Prabhu. They were explaining that Prabhupada would sleep around 11 o'clock, 11:30, like that. So just before going to sleep at 11 p.m. or 11:30 at night, Prabhupada used to get a leg massage. This whole day he's been going here and there. So before sleeping, Prabhupada used to get a leg massage. And while Prabhupada used to get leg massage, Prabhupada would get one of his devotees to read from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Prabhupada would hear. So he'll be getting his leg massage, and at the same time, through his ears, Prabhupada will be hearing recitation of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this particular instance, they were reading from CC, and the particular purport they were reading, in that purport, Prabhupada is explaining, giving like so many details that, this particular holy place, is in this particular place, and it is this many miles from this particular station. If you want to go to there, then you get off at that station, then you go this many miles north, then after you go this many miles north, you will come across a village. In that village, there will be one big tree, and you go to that tree, then on the right side of the tree, there will be this thing, then you go over there, left, and then that is the exact place where this particular pastime is given. So this devotee was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita out loud to Srila Prabhupada, while another devotee was massaging Prabhupada. And this devotee was astonished, like, how does Prabhupada know like so many details? Like Prabhupada is giving exact, dot to dot. And this devotee, he speaks out to Srila Prabhupada while Prabhupada is getting massage. This devotee tells Prabhupada that Prabhupada, there's like so much detail in your books. Like, this is amazing, like the amount of detail you're giving in your purports. And Prabhupada says, yes, the reason I've given so many details is so then everyone else would believe that, yes, this is the real thing. This isn't something made up. They have to accept it. If someone is giving this level of detail, it means it must be true. It can't just be someone's mental speculation. And this way people will take us very seriously. So like this, Prabhupada used to get a leg massage, and while getting leg massage, Prabhupada used to hear Chaitanya Charitamrita. Then Prabhupada used to sleep for 2 hours, it's given. Prabhupada used to sleep most nights, just for 2 hours. Sometimes our nap ends up becoming 2 hours during the day. But Prabhupada's actual sleep is only 2 hours at night. From 11:30 to 1:30 he would sleep. 1:30 he would wake up, and then immediately he would start his translation work. And I think this is by Satsuru Maharaj. Because he was a Prabhupada's servant, secretary also, many times. So he was kind of sharing Prabhupada's daily schedule. And he was explaining, okay, Prabhupada would wake up usually around 1:30, start translating. And Prabhupada would have, for Bhagavatam, Prabhupada had, I think, one huge book which had different commentaries by different acharyas. And Prabhupada would read the different commentaries by different acharyas, and then he would recite his own purports. And he had a dictaphone. He would press play and speak a few words, then press pause, think a bit more, then play again, speak, then pause, like that. The whole time Prabhupada would be thinking and speaking, pause, thinking, speaking, like that. And this devotee is explaining that, how humble Srila Prabhupada was. That sometimes Prabhupada had an English dictionary next to him. So sometimes when it comes to translating the word for word, like every day we recite the word for word, like yata means as, he means indeed, aprati buddhasya means of one who is sleeping, like that, the word for word translation. So sometimes while Prabhupada would be doing the word for word translation, to come up with the exact right word for a particular Sanskrit word, or to come up with a nice word for the translation, Prabhupada would sometimes Prabhupada had a nice Oxford English dictionary, which he used to use. And sometimes Prabhupada used to consult with his disciples also. And this particular devotee was explaining that sometimes Prabhupada used to just randomly come up to him and ask him, in English language, can you think of a word, of being bound up and, not being free, some particular word, and this devotee say, entangle? And then Prabhupada said, yes, entangle, that's a good word. Okay, I'll use that word. And then Prabhupada will go, use the dicta one and then use that word, entangle. Another time Prabhupada again come in, a particular word, that's this and that. And the devotee will say, oh, this particular word is, oh yes, that's a good word. Okay, I will use that word. And then Prabhupada will again go back to his room and use that word in his translation of purport or use that word in word for word. So in this way, this devotee was helping us, to understand and better appreciate, how big of a work actually was to translate, Srimad Bhagavatam, translate Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it's no easy work, and Prabhupada put so much time and effort, so much mental concentration into giving us these books. So much he was, in his mind thinking, what is the exact word I should use? How should I phrase it? And then this Acharya says that, this Acharya says that. Which point I should take from which Acharya? How should I frame it so everyone will understand, not just now, but for the next 10,000 years? So if we try and contemplate a bit of what exactly Prabhupada had to go through to translate his books, it's mind-blowing actually. It requires a lot of patience, a lot of effort, mental effort, lot of effort of the intelligence to compile these books. So in this way, Prabhupada used to translate early in the morning. Then he used to go for a morning walk. Then he used to chant his japa for 2 hours. Then he used to take shower. And then after taking shower, Prabhupada will go for morning walk, then come back, give just in time for darshanati, be there for Guru Puja, give Bhagavatam class. And then the whole day he would have so many different programs and engagements. And until late at night, Prabhupada used to be engaged fully in Krishna service. One other pastime I was reading that, so we know that Prabhupada, he used to sleep late at night. Most days like around 11:30. One time, Prabhupada, he was in South America, and it was a very busy day. They had to go through many, many different programs, and so much so Prabhupada didn't even get time to take proper prasad. So most of the day, Prabhupada barely ate anything. And then finally they came home and it was time for resting. But at that time, one particular disciple comes and tells Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, I hate to do this to you, I hate to even mention this to you. I shouldn't be mentioning this to you, but there's this big radio, or there's this big TV channel, or radio program, and they have given us a slot tonight. And it's at, like midnight or something. Very late at night, at 11:30 or midnight. And I know you've been busy the whole day, you've barely eaten anything, but this opportunity has come up for us. And then Prabhupada asked, how many people watch this TV show? And this disciple says, millions of people. He gives some big number in the millions. Then Prabhupada's eyes go big. And Prabhupada said, let's do it, let's go right now. And the disciple says, but Prabhupada, you've barely eaten anything whole day, whole morning, you've been busy. You need to take rest. I hate to do this to you, like maybe someone else can go. Maybe we can skip it, Whole day you've been working hard, you haven't eaten anything. Then Prabhupada said, oh, that's fine, no, doesn't matter. We'll simply work hard now, we'll sleep later. Sleeping we can do later, let's work hard now, we'll sleep later. And Prabhupada stretches himself, even though the whole day, more than 12 hours he was busy, hardly eating anything. Again at 11:30 at night or midnight he goes for the TV program, does the program there, and then comes back late 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and Prabhupada takes rest. And this way Prabhupada was always very, very greedy, very, very fired up when it came to serving Krishna with his senses. And he's always stretching himself to serve Krishna more and more with each and every one of his senses. In this way we can also, obviously we can't imitate what Prabhupada does, but we can follow in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps and try and also push ourselves, try and plan our days in such a way that 24 hours a day we're somehow or other engaging all of our different senses in the service of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. Okay, it's 9 o'clock, we'll stop here. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Prabhu Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanande.
Yeah.